And welcome back, everyone, to the smartest year ever. Thanks for joining me on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalists. My name is Gordy, and I was just wondering how we connected two continents with a copper wire in the year 1858. And I'm talking about the Transatlantic cable. How we first sent messages across the Atlantic. Like and subscribe right now, please. If you haven't, I'd really appreciate that. This is the final entry for the month. The final entry with this red shirt on. Can't wait to change it. I do wash it, but boy, I'm looking for a new image. So let's get right into it. Why not? Today, if you want to send a message across the Atlantic, it takes about a second, But in the 1800s, it took 10 days by ship, and that changed in 1858 when engineers laid the first transatlantic telegraph cable, connecting Europe and North America by wire for the very first time, Ireland and Newfoundland. The cable was over 2,500 miles long, weighed over a ton per nautical mile, and had to be slowly lowered to the ocean floor from ships in the middle of the Atlantic. This wasn't fiber optic. This was raw copper and gutta percha insulation, which was basically like glorified garden hose. The project had failed multiple times before. Cables snapped, ships ran into storms, morale was absolutely obliterated. But finally, on August 16th, 1858, Queen Victoria sent the first message to U.S. President James Buchanan. It was 98 words long. It took 17 hours to transmit. The world absolutely freaked out. Cities held celebrations. Newspapers called it the eighth wonder of the world. It was the Victorian equivalent of sending a Mars rover selfie, basically, is what I'm thinking. But then the cable died. Just like that, it was gone. Why, you may ask? Well, because of a man named Wildman Whitehouse. Wildman Whitehouse. And he was a surgeon and also the project's chief electrician, but he had almost no electrical engineering background. So despite multiple warnings, Wildman, he cranked up the voltage way too high. And so he basically microwaved the cable from the inside. So I don't know. Who the hell thought it was a good idea to put someone named Wildman in charge of this task? Doesn't that seem pretty 101 to you? It's you sure you can handle this, right, Wildman? Wildman, you focusing? Hey, Wildman, look alive. You're an electrician, right? All right, Wildman, do your thing. But the first transatlantic line lasted just 3 weeks. Though, even in failure, it proved something radical. You could send a signal across the ocean. So that insight would lead to a successful cable, then in 1866, and eventually global communication as we know it today. So if you're like me, you probably have some questions. So here are the questions that I had when I was writing it, so maybe I can answer some of yours. What was the message between Queen Victoria and President Buchanan? Well, this is what the Queen says. She goes, "The Queen desires to congratulate the President upon the successful completion of this great international work in which the Queen has taken the deepest interest. The Queen is convinced that the President will join with her in fervently hoping that the electric cable which now connects Great Britain with the United States will prove an additional link between the nations whose friendship is founded upon their common interest and reciprocal esteem." It's all right, lady, you just say hi. Do we still have transatlantic cables today? Yeah. In fact, we don't just have them, we rely heavily on them. About 95 to 99% of all international internet traffic still travels through undersea fiber optic cables. So that's pretty cool, not satellites, So we're using it a lot. There are more than 400 active submarine cables worldwide today, spanning over 800,000 miles. So I thought that was pretty cool. Transatlantic cables are among the most heavily used, linking North America and Europe with ultra high speed capacity. What about those old copper telegraph cables? Seems like a lot of copper down there, and copper is expensive. People are stealing random crap to get copper out of it. So why aren't people going down there? Well, most of the early cables, like the 1858 one that I just talked about, they're still on the ocean floor, but they've been long abandoned, and they're also considered non-salvageable for value because copper oxidizes and corrodes super badly in water over time. So any effort to retrieve them would end up costing more than the material is worth, especially with the deep sea pressures and the depth that they would have to go to and all like that. It's just not worth it. But has anyone tried salvaging them? Yeah. But it's more of a historical artifact now, historical artifact retrieval, not commercial scrapping. Sub fragments have actually been brought up for museums. Like the Smithsonian has one. Some have been like sold as souvenirs in the late 1800s, and in the early 1900s, they were even like turned into jewelry a little bit. I think that'd be freaking sick to have jewelry out of the original transatlantic cable. But that is just the nerdy stuff that I enjoy. I'm guessing you won't see Kim Kardashian with a transatlantic cable necklace. But yeah, you know, they used to cut up the cable, and they displayed it in cable ship exhibits and stuff, and just cool. But so there you have it. The first cable worked just long enough to change the world, and then promptly fried itself in a blaze of Victorian overconfidence. Thank you to all my sources, as always, which you can find in the YouTube description. Yeah, so this was a 2010 Smartest Year blog post. I remember this because I literally think about Wildman Whitehouse like every month for some reason. It just pops in my head, like, Wildman, you wild man. So yeah, no, thanks to all my sources, which can be found in the YouTube description. Please leave me a comment, follow, like, subscribe. I really appreciate that. It means a ton. Like every time I get a subscriber, I notice it. I'm like, yes. Say hi at Smartest Year Ever on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, with the full episodes at Smartest Year Ever on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts for your daily clips. Go check out the 1-minute version of it right now. In the meantime, stay curious and stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalists. I will see you tomorrow in the Smartest Year Ever.